Rain tapped at the office window, while Daniel Reed stared at the invitation on his desk. Thick cardstock hospital crest gold lettering. At the bottom, in smaller print, 2 characters waited. +1. He set the card down, then picked it up again. The monitor behind it was dark, his reflection a faint blur. Somewhere down the hallway, the house creaked. Across the room, the closet door stood open a little. A garment bag hung among his suits. Where the zipper had slipped, a streak of navy satin showed. Lena's dress. She had worn it to the first gala, hair pinned up, laughing at him for checking email between courses. He shut the closet door and pushed back his chair. He turned off the office light and stepped into the hallway. As he walked, he flipped switches, watching each room fall dark behind him. Living room, kitchen, dining room. By the time he reached the end of the hall, only a blue glow remained. It leaked under the edge of Emma's door. He eased it open and leaned on the frame. The nightlight on her wall, a plastic star, washed the room in soft color. Books lay in small stacks beside the bed. Emma slept on her back, curls stuck to her forehead, one arm around a stuffed bear with a missing eye. With each breath, her fingers twitched against its fur. Daniel watched her chest rise and fall, the small, steady rhythm he had once counted in beeps on a monitor. The star's light brushed his cheek. This was the one light in the house that never went off. It had stayed on every night since the last time he walked out of a hospital without her mother. "I will figure it out," he said quietly. Emma did not stir. The blue star glowed on. He pulled the door almost closed, leaving a gap for the light, and went back down the hall. The refrigerator hummed. Rain pattered on the roof. Morning brought low clouds over Elliott Bay. Daniel stepped into the glass-walled conference room with a paper cup of coffee and the expression he saved for investors. His team was already there, charts glowing on screens. "Morning," he said, taking his seat. "Morning," replied Margot Lynn, his operations director, eyes on her tablet. The meeting moved through revenue, hiring, production schedules. He let the routine carry him, asking questions, answering others, nodding, as projections replaced one another on the screen. Near the end, Margot tapped to the final slide. Gala Sponsorship. The heading sat above photos from last year. In one, he stood near the center of the frame in a tuxedo, name badge pinned just so. Around him, partners and board members stood in pairs. Hands rested on sleeves and shoulders. Next to him, there was only empty space. "The hospital is happy about the bigger check," Margot said. "They want you front and center this year." An older executive leaned back. "Maybe this year you can bring someone," he said. "You always look like you lost a person on the way in." The comment was offhand. It still landed. Daniel smiled like he was supposed to. "We will see," he said. When the others filed out, he stayed seated. Margot slipped her tablet into its case and took a sip of coffee. "You put the gala on my calendar," he said. "It belongs there," she replied. "You know how those nights are." "I do," she said. "I also know you cannot skip this one, not as the main sponsor." He traced a line in the wood with his thumb. "I am tired of people staring at the empty chair next to me and pretending they do not see it." "The chair does not have to stay empty," Margot said. "I am not dating." "I am not suggesting you are," she answered. "There is an agency we sometimes use. They send companions to events. Professional, not romantic. People who know how to handle fundraisers and keep conversation moving." "It sounds fake." "Most of that night is staged," she replied. "This would be honest. You need help with the part you hate, so you hire help." He looked past her at the band of water beyond the glass. The idea sat there, uncomfortable and practical at once. "Send me the number," he said. "I will," she replied. Later in the parking garage, Daniel sat in the driver's seat with the engine off and his phone in his hand. Concrete pillars boxed in the car. Margot's message pinged his screen, agency name and phone number simple on the display. He stared at it. Behind his eyes, the hallway of the oncology ward flickered to life, bright and too clean. A tape line on the floor. A nurse asking him to wait. He inhaled, let the image fade, and tapped the call button. A woman answered, a voice calm and precise. She asked about the date, the dress code, the size of the event. He gave clipped answers. When she asked what he was looking for, he cut in. "I do not want anyone pretending to be my girlfriend," he said. "I just need someone who can get through a gala without making it harder." "That is what we provide," she said. "We have a companion who used to teach elementary school. She is very comfortable in formal settings." "Fine," he said. "Book her." When the call ended, he opened his messages to Margot and typed a line. "Okay, set it up." He hit send, started the car, and drove up toward the pale clouded light. By the time the evening came around, the house felt restless. Daniel could feel it in the way Emma kept drifting from room to room, trailing crayons, asking questions she already knew the answers to. "Is it a very fancy party?" she asked from his bedroom doorway. He stood at the mirror, sliding the knot of his black bow tie into place. The tuxedo jacket hung on the chair behind him, a darker shape against the pale wall. "It is pretty fancy," he said. "It is a fundraiser at the big hotel by the water, lots of people in suits, too much perfume." Emma stepped closer until she could see both of them in the mirror. Her hair was pulled into a loose ponytail that was already escaping. "Like last year?" she asked. "Like last year," he said. She studied his reflection. "You look different." "How so?" "You look like you are pretending to be in a movie," she said. He let out a breath that was almost a laugh. "I will take that as a compliment." "Are you going alone?" she asked. He checked the line of his collar to give himself a second. "No, someone is coming to go with me." "Like a friend." "Something like that," he said. She watched him another moment as if weighing that answer. Then she nodded and patted away her socks, whispering against the hardwood. He slipped into the tuxedo jacket and flexed his shoulders. The fabric still felt too stiff. When he turned out the bedroom light and stepped into the hallway, the house smelled of sautéed onions and laundry detergent. Rosa was humming in the kitchen. Cartoon music floated up from the living room, where Emma had migrated back to the couch. The doorbell rang. The sound cut through the house and then settled, as if everything held still around it. Emma shouted, "I will get it!" and the thump of her running feet followed. Daniel paused at the top of the curved staircase and adjusted his cuffs. From this angle, he had a clear view of the entryway. The tall front door stood outlined in the yellow porch light. Emma tugged it open. A woman stood on the threshold, rein on the shoulders of her beige coat. Her hair was a soft brown gathered at the nape of her neck. A few strands stuck to her cheek from the drizzle. She held a small black clutch in one hand. The other was raised as if she had been about to knock again. "Hi," she said, her voice warm. "You must be Emma." Emma, who had been prepared to shout, "Who is it?" blinked instead. "I am." The woman smiled, like that information pleased her. "I am Harper. I work with the people your dad talked to on the phone. They asked if I would go to the hospital party with him tonight." Emma considered this, eyes narrowing, like a bodyguard. "A little less dramatic," Harper said. "More like a +1 who knows which fork to use." Emma's mouth curved. "Rosa says Dad never knows which fork to use." "That is why I am here," Harper said. "Sounds like I have a very important job." From his place on the stairs, Daniel felt something in his chest loosen. The exchange had taken all of 15 seconds, and already Emma looked brighter. He started down the steps. The banister was cool under his palm. At the bottom, Harper straightened and stepped just inside the doorway. Up close, Daniel saw that her earrings were simple silver circles, the kind that caught the light without asking for attention. Under the coat, a black dress fell smooth to the knee. It was elegant, but not loud. "Mr. Reed," she said, holding out her free hand. "I am Harper James. Thank you for having me." "Daniel is fine," he said, taking her hand. Her grip was firm and dry, her skin faintly cool from the rain. "Thank you for coming." Rosa appeared from the hallway that led to the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "So, this is the famous Harper," she said, her accent wrapping around the name. "I hope not too famous," Harper replied. Rosa looked her up and down, not unkindly. "Emma has been asking about you all afternoon. You may have competition for his attention tonight." "I am ready," Harper said. "I brought conversation and a high tolerance for small talk." Emma tugged on her coat sleeve. "Can you come see my drawings before you go?" Emma Daniel began. "We have to leave soon. The hotel is downtown and traffic is ugly." Harper looked at him and shook her head slightly. "We have a few minutes," she said. "If that is all right." He hesitated, then nodded. "A few minutes." Emma grabbed Harper's hand and pulled her toward the living room. The rug muffled their footsteps. Daniel followed more slowly and stopped at the threshold. In one corner of the room, a low table had become Emma's art station. Paper in different sizes was stacked crookedly. A plastic cup held brushes and stained water. Crayons lay in open boxes, some peeled down to the paper. Emma hopped onto the floor and began shuffling through a pile of drawings. She handed Harper one with bold blue scribbles. "This was the ocean from the ferry," she said. "It was too big to fit on the page." Harper tilted her head to take it in. "I can see the waves," she said. "You captured them in motion." Emma produced another sheet, this one covered in tall shapes. "And this is the city. That is Dad's office building. It looks like a glass toaster." Harper laughed softly. "A very expensive toaster." Then Emma pulled out a page from the bottom of the stack, one that had been crumpled and smoothed again. On it, 3 figures stood on a patch of green. Above them, a cloud with a smiling face hovered in a yellow sky. "This is our family," Emma said. Harper settled cross-legged on the rug. "Can you tell me who is who?" Emma pointed at the cloud. "That is Mom. She is up there now." Her finger slid down to the small figure with a swirl of hair. "That is me." She tapped the taller figure beside it. "That is Dad." Her finger stopped next to them where there was a clear space and outline begun but not finished. A faint circle, a hint of a dress, and nothing more. "And this part?" Harper asked gently. "That is nobody." Emma shrugged. "Not yet." Harper did not answer right away. She looked at the gap, then at Emma's face. The room was quiet, except for the low murmur of the television in the background. Emma shifted, suddenly unsure. "I did not know what to draw there," she said. "So, I left it." Harper nodded. "Sometimes leaving space is smart," she said. "If you are not sure who belongs there, it is better to wait. An empty space means there is room. That can be a good thing." Emma studied her as if trying to decide if she believed that. "Do you have empty spaces?" she asked. "More than one," Harper said softly. "I am still figuring out what to do with them." From the doorway, Daniel watched the two of them, side by side on the floor, the drawing between them, the little halo of lamplight around their heads. His hand tightened on the frame. He had seen the picture before, but never heard Emma explain it. Rosa cleared her throat from behind him. "If you want to make it on time, you should go," she said. Emma looked up, alarm flashing across her face. "Is it now?" Almost, Daniel said. "We can see more drawings later." Emma glanced from him to Harper. "You really have to go." "I do," Harper said. "If I do not, they might give your dad's seat to someone who hates hospital food." Emma made a face. "Everyone hates hospital food." "Exactly. He will need backup." Harper rose, careful not to step on any paper. "But I will say goodbye properly." Back in the entryway, Daniel reached for his keys from the bowl on the console. The air smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and the pasta Rosa had made for dinner. Emma wrapped her arms around his waist. Her cheek was cool through his shirt. "Do not stay gone too long," she said. "I will not," he replied into her hair. She let go and turned to Harper. For a moment she hesitated, then stepped forward and hugged her too. Harper seemed surprised, then folded her arms around the small body. "You will bring him back, right?" Emma asked, pulling back just enough to look up. Harper met her eyes. "I will do my best to make sure he remembers where home is," she said. Emma seemed satisfied with that answer. Rosa took Emma's hand. "Come on, Estrella, we have a movie ready," she said. "Say goodnight." "Good night," Emma said to both of them. She waved once more as Rosa led her toward the hallway. The front door opened to a soft mist and the scent of wet pavement. Harper's breath clouded faintly in the chill. Daniel stepped aside to let her go first, then locked the door behind them. His car waited in the driveway, drops of water beating on the windshield. They walked together toward it, the sound of their footsteps blending with the quiet hiss of distant traffic. The interior of the car smelled faintly of pine from the air freshener Emma had insisted on choosing. When Daniel started the engine, the dashboard clock flicked to 7:19. The wipers swept a thin mist from the windshield. Harper fastened her seatbelt and smoothed her dress over her knees. City lights glimmered on the wet pavement as they pulled away from the house. "Thank you for letting Emma show me her drawings," she said after a moment. "She has a strong sense of space." He glanced at her. "Space?" "In the way she uses the page," Harper said. "She is not afraid of leaving parts open." He thought of the unfinished figure beside the little family on the hill. His fingers tightened on the steering wheel. "She leaves more open than I would like sometimes." "That is not always bad," Harper said. "It means her world is not closed." Rain streaked diagonally across the side window. Traffic thickened as they approached downtown, red brake lights glowing ahead. "You work with kids a lot," he said. "I used to," she replied. "I taught art at an elementary school, 3rd through 5th grade." "You do not teach anymore." "Not right now," Harper said. "My mother got sick. It was easier to step away than to ask for a dozen favors a week." "What kind of sick?" he asked, then wished he had softened the question. "Alzheimer's," she said. She was diagnosed early, but the early part did not last long. Toward the end, she did not remember who I was. The wipers kept time with the pause that followed. "I am sorry," he said. "Thank you," she replied. "It was 2 years ago. I took care of her full-time for a while. After she passed, going back to a classroom right away felt strange. Too many names, too many stories at once. I needed something with more control over my hours." "So you did this," he said. "So I did this," she agreed. "A friend knew someone at the agency. I was skeptical until I realized most of the job is just not making people feel more alone than they already do." He let that sit. They passed under an overpass. The car briefly plunged into shadow, then re-emerged in the spill of downtown lights. Glass buildings rose on either side, their windows blinking like grids of stars. "You do not mind nights like this?" he asked. "Fundraisers," she smiled. "They can be fun in a strange way. People dress up, they rehearse their best selves. It is like theater with slightly worse lighting." You enjoy theater. I enjoy watching people pretend and then forget that they are pretending, she said. Sometimes you see the real person slip through for a second. That part I like. He checked his mirror and changed lanes. You are not worried I will be terrible company. If you were terrible company, your daughter would have told me by now, Harper said. Kids are the most honest critics. She did call me a glass toaster, he said. That seems affectionate, Harper. Harper replied. Jesus replied. Binasi. The hotel came into view around the next bend, a tall rectangle of light facing the water. Spotlights swept the sky above the entrance. Cars idled at the curb doors, opening and closing in a steady rhythm. Valets moved between them in dark jackets. Daniel pulled into the drop-off lane and killed the engine. He sat for a moment watching people step out of cars and into the glow. Harper unbuckled her seatbelt and glanced at him. Are you ready? She asked. Not really, he said. She nodded once. We can still go even if you are not. He looked at her, surprised by the simple phrasing. Then he opened his door and stepped out into the damp air. A valet approached with a practiced smile. Daniel handed over the keys and walked around the car to join Harper. The pavement underfoot was slick, reflecting the canopy lights overhead. The night tasted of exhaust and seat. Inside the revolving doors, warm air wrapped around them. The lobby was all marble and glass, with tall arrangements of white flowers on low tables. The murmur of conversation floated in from the direction of the ballroom. They crossed the lobby side by side. At the entrance to the event, a registration table waited. A young woman in a black blazer checked Daniel's name against a list and handed him 2 badges. Dr. Reed, she said, thank you for your support again this year. You are at table 3 near the front. He clipped his badge to his jacket pocket and passed the second one to Harper without comment. She pinned it inside her coat, where only the edge of her name showed. A wave of sound met them as they stepped into the ballroom. Crystal light fixtures hung from the high ceiling, scattering light over round tables draped in white. Servers in white shirts and black vests moved between clusters of guests carrying trays of sparkling drinks. A string quartet played in one corner, the music threading through the chatter. Daniel felt his shoulders tighten. Harper's voice came quietly at his side. One step at a time, she said, we can start with the bar. He let her steer them toward a high table near the back, where he could take in the room without standing in the middle of it. She accepted a glass of champagne from a passing tray, then looked at him. Still water, she asked. Please, he said. She flagged another server and exchanged the champagne flute for a short glass with ice. When she handed it to him, her fingers brushed his briefly. As your conversational backup, she said, I have 2 goals tonight. First, make sure you do not get cornered by anyone who starts a sentence with, I heard about your wife. Second, prevent you from staying longer than you have to. You seem very qualified, he said. I am highly trained, she replied. A pair of board members approached, their faces familiar and expectant. Daniel straightened. They greeted him with hearty handshakes and turned polite smiles toward Harper. And who is this, one of them asked. This is Harper, Daniel said. She is a friend who agreed to spare me from terrible small talk. Brave woman, the other man said. Harper smiled. I have sat through school talent shows, she said. My tolerance is high. They laughed. The conversation rolled on to more neutral topics. Research updates, hospital expansions. Someone brought up a news story about advances in memory care. Daniel saw the flicker in Harper's eyes before she smoothed it away. Did you work in healthcare before this? One of the board members asked her. No, she said. Education. I taught art to elementary kids. Now I just borrow other people's evenings. Then you probably have more patience than the rest of us combined, the man said. Children teach you patience, Harper replied, and improvisation. She told them about a student who insisted on drawing every animal as a dinosaur for a month straight because everything used to be a dinosaur at some point. The men chuckled, charmed by the anecdote. Daniel listened, watching how she kept the focus light, how she deflected questions that edged too close to her own story. Eventually, the board members moved on, drawn toward another cluster of guests. Daniel let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. You did well, Harper said. I did not say anything, he replied. Exactly, she said. Sometimes that is the right choice. More people came. A surgeon from the pediatric wing, a couple who owned a chain of grocery stores, a foundation director. Names crossed his path, some he remembered, some he did not. Every time he felt his throat start to close around a question, Harper slid in with an easy comment. He heard her say, we and he has been focused on the new trial, and Emma is doing better with her painting than I ever did at her age, and only later realized how naturally she had woven herself into his side of the conversation without claiming more than she had. When someone asked how they knew each other, Harper answered before he could stumble. "I help out at events sometimes," she said with a small, calm smile. "We met through work. He was going to come alone, which seemed dangerous." "Dangerous?" how the woman asked. "He hates these things," Harper said. "Someone has to remind him to blink." The woman laughed, accepted that, and moved on. "You really do not mind being that honest?" Daniel asked under his breath. "It is easier than pretending we met at a wine tasting," Harper said. "No one remembers the details anyway. They want a shape that makes sense. And this makes sense. A tired doctor and a +1 who knows where the door is if it gets too loud," she said. "Sure, that is a story people understand." A chime sounded cutting through the noise. The quartet stopped playing. Event staff began encouraging people toward their tables. Those near the front started to sit napkins unfolding on laps. "Table 3, Harper said, checking the small card on her badge. "Front and center. You really went all in on that sponsorship." "There were reasons," he said. "There always are," she replied. They followed the flow to the table near the stage. A white card with his name waited at one of the 2 seats closest to the podium. Harper's place card sat beside it. To his right, another chair remained empty. He looked at that chair a second longer than he meant to. Harper pulled out her own seat and sat smoothing the tablecloth under her hand. "Nice centerpieces," she said, nodding at the low arrangement of lilies and greenery. "Very symmetrical. You must approve." "It is acceptable," he said. He took his chair, adjusting it so he faced the stage rather than the empty place by his side. Around them, conversations restarted in smaller clusters. Glasses clinked as servers poured water and wine. On stage, a woman in a navy suit approached the microphone, flipping through notes. Daniel wrapped his fingers around the base of his glass. The room buzzed softly. He felt the familiar tightness in his chest, but noticed with a small measure of surprise that it did not choke him like it had in years past. At his elbow, Harper's presence was a quiet weight, a small steady point in the swirl of light and sound. The first speaker's voice rose and fell over the clink of silverware. Slides appeared on the screens flanking the stage. Smiling children in hospital gowns. Nurses in bright scrubs. A new wing under construction. The usual arc of gratitude and need. Dinner came in courses, salad with too many leaves to cut neatly, a main dish that tried to be impressive and ended up bland. Daniel ate because it was expected. He listened because people watched his reactions when patient families spoke at the podium. At one point, a teenage boy in a suit that was a little too big stepped up to the microphone. His hair was growing in aftertreatment, bristling close to his scalp. He thanked the hospital staff, his voice shaking once and then steadying. His mother wiped her eyes in the front row. Harper sat very still while he spoke. Her hands rested on the edge of the table, fingers curled in slightly. When the boy mentioned forgetting things from the time he was sick, she took a slow breath, then another. Daniel glanced at her. She kept her gaze on the stage, but her jaw had tightened. "You all right?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she said. "It is good he is here." He did not push. She relaxed her shoulders by degrees, as if remembering to set them down. Around the table, conversation drifted between courses. The woman to Harper's left, the spouse of a surgical chief, leaned in. "So, Harper," she said, "do you work in medicine too?" "No," Harper answered. "Education? I used to teach art in elementary school." "Oh, how fun," the woman replied. "Children's drawings are so adorable. All the big heads and tiny hands." "They are honest," Harper said. "They draw what matters to them, not what they think they are supposed to see." "What did you do before that?" the woman asked. Harper smiled politely. "I was working my way there for a while. Different jobs. Cafes, bookstores, paying for paint." The woman laughed and turned to speak to the man on her other side. Harper's shoulders eased again. Daniel wondered what she had chosen to leave out, what pieces she had trimmed away. He felt her toe tap lightly against his shoe under the table. It seemed accidental until she did it again. "You are staring very hard at your water," she murmured, without looking at him. "I am considering the merits of staying hydrated," he said. "You are trying not to think about the empty chair," she replied. He shifted his gaze. The chair to his right sat untouched napkins still folded neatly on the plate. "They always set one," he said. "They probably did not think about it," she said. "Someone followed a chart, not a story." He took a sip of water. The rim of the glass was cool against his lip. On stage, the host thanked the sponsors. His name was mentioned. A light swept across the room and landed briefly on their table. People turned and clapped in his direction. He smiled, the expression quick and practiced. Harper leaned closer. "You survived the speech part," she said. "That is usually the worst." "You do not enjoy donor recognition?" he asked. "I enjoy dessert," she said. "Speaking of which, I think it is trying to arrive." Servers appeared with dishes of something involving chocolate and raspberry. The room grew louder as people relaxed into the less formal part of the evening. When the plates had been cleared and the coffee poured, the string quartet gave way to a small band on a low platform near the dance floor. Soft drums, a bass, a singer with a velvet voice eased into an old jazz standard. The lights above the dance floor dimmed. "Oh good," Harper said. The part where people prove how many wedding receptions they have attended. Guests began to rise from their tables. Couples drifted toward the open space in front of the band. A few executives clapped each other on the shoulder and made jokes about not stepping on toes. Harper looked at him. "Do you dance?" "I am out of practice," he said. "That is not a no," she replied. She stood and waited. For a second he stayed seated, his hands still around the base of his glass. Habit told him to decline to stay anchored to the table. Then he set the glass down and pushed his chair back. "If I injure your feet, it is your fault," he said. "I am a fast learner," she replied. They crossed to the edge of the dance floor. The music was unhurried, the kind that filled the room without demanding attention. He placed one hand at her waist, the other in her hand. She settled her free hand lightly on his shoulder. They began to move. His steps were cautious, at first testing. Her rhythm was sure steady, like someone who had spent a lot of evenings as a guest at other people's celebrations. Around them, couples swayed in gentle patterns. The glow from the chandeliers softened the sharp lines of the room. Fabric whispered. Glasses clinked at the bar. "You are doing fine," Harper said. "I used to be better," he answered. Lena liked to dance. Her head tilted slightly. "She came to these with you?" "The first few," he said, "before she got sick." "And then you kept coming alone," she said, not as a question. "Yes." They turned slowly, the room revolving behind her shoulder. For a moment, she lifted her eyes and caught their reflection in one of the tall windows. Two figures in black moving together among others. "Does it feel strange?" she asked. "All of this feels strange," he said. "You this, the agency, the table cards. Existing. Existing is underrated," she replied. His mouth quirked despite himself. "You do not seem uncomfortable here," he said. "I am not the one people ask about treatment plans or research funding," she said. "I just have to ask harmless questions and listen." "You are very good at it," he said. "I had practice," she replied. "When my mother was sick, the only thing people seemed sure they could do was talk. It helped to let them fill the air sometimes." "And who listened to you?" he asked. Her eyes met his. "Every so often someone who did not try to fix what could not be fixed," she said. That was enough. Before he could answer, his pocket vibrated. The sound registered against his side as a small, steady buzz. He ignored it for one beat of the music, then another. It did not stop. "Sorry," he said quietly. He eased his hand from Harper's and stepped back. "I need to check that." "Of course," she said. He fished his phone out of his jacket and glanced at the screen. Rosa flashed across it. A pulse of cold slid through his chest. He walked off the dance floor, the music fading behind him, and found a quieter strip of carpet near the tall potted plants along the wall. "Rosa," he said. Her voice carried a strain he did not often hear. "Daniel, I am sorry to call. Emma is having a hard time." "What happened?" he asked. "She woke up from a nightmare. She is shaking, and she keeps saying, 'You did not come back.'" Rosa paused, then added, "I have been with her for a while, but she is not settling." He pressed his thumb into the bridge of his nose. For a moment, the ballroom blurred. He pictured the blue glow under Emma's bedroom door, her small body twisting in the sheets. "I am on my way," he said. "Do not tell her I am not coming. Tell her I am driving home right now." "All right," Rosa said. "Drive safe." He ended the call and turned the phone over in his hand twice. The weight of it felt heavier than it should. When he faced the dance floor again, Harper was standing at the edge watching him. She had removed her shoes and held them by the straps, bare toes on the polished wood. "Bad news," she said, reading his face. "Emma," he said, "she is having a nightmare about me not coming back. I have to go." "Of course you do," Harper replied. "I will call a car for you," he said. "The agency probably prefers that anyway. I can have the valet get you a cab and they can bill me." "Do not be ridiculous," she said. She slipped her shoes back on without fuss. "You are already headed home. I can ride along and then get a ride from there. I would like to say goodnight to her, if it is not too much." "You have done more than enough tonight," he said. "You do not have to add a trip across town." "I want to," she said. Her voice was gentle, but there was no hesitation in it. "It is not about work at this point. Let me come." He searched her face. All he saw there was concern, not pity. The difference mattered more than he expected. "Fine," he said quietly. "Thank you." They collected their coats from the rack near the entrance. The cool fabric of his jacket was a relief after the heated air of the ballroom. As they stepped out into the lobby, The noise of the event dimmed behind them. Outside, the air was colder than before. The mist had thickened into a fine drizzle. The valet jogged to retrieve his car tires hissing on the wet pavement. Harper wrapped her coat tighter around herself. "How often does it happen?" she asked. "The nightmares," he said. "Lately a few times a week. She is afraid you will disappear," Harper said, not accusing, just naming it. "I know," he said. His throat felt tight. "I do what I can to convince her I will not, but there is only so much those words can do." "Showing up helps," Harper said. Headlights swept across the entrance as his car pulled up. The valet opened the driver's door. Daniel tipped him and climbed behind the wheel. Harper took the passenger seat without waiting for invitation. As they pulled away from the hotel, the reflected lights of the lobby slid across the windshield like a handful of scattered stars. The band's music faded to a memory. In the quiet of the car, the sound of the rain on the roof grew louder, steady, and insistent. The drive back felt shorter than the one into the city. Maybe it was the way Daniel's foot kept pressing the accelerator a little harder than usual. Streetlights slid over the hood in even intervals. The wipers kept up their steady arc. Harper sat with her hands folded in her lap, watching the houses flick past. "What does she usually dream about?" she asked quietly. "Sometimes it is vague," he said. "Dark hallways, doors that will not open. Sometimes it is specific. Hospital beds, me leaving and not coming back." He swallowed. The road ahead blurred for a second before he blinked it clear. "She was there when Lena was sick," he added. "Too much of it. She remembers more than people think a 6-year-old can," Harper said. "She remembers enough," he replied. They fell silent again. Tires hissed over damp asphalt. A dog barked somewhere as they turned into his neighborhood. The familiar line of trees rose up, branches black against the dim sky. He pulled into the driveway and cut the engine. The porch light glowed a dull yellow, turning raindrops in the air into tiny sparks. "Thank you for coming with me," he said. "Thank you for driving," she replied. "Let us see how she is." Inside, the house smelled like popcorn and dish soap. Rosa met them at the bottom of the stairs. Her dark hair had slipped from its bun, and there were faint lines of worry at the corners of her eyes. "She is still awake," Rosa said in a low voice. "I sat with her, but she keeps asking if you are really coming back, or if she is still dreaming." Daniel nodded and took the stairs 2 at a time. Harper followed, slower fingers skimming the banister. At the top of the hallway, the blue glow under Emma's door marked her room like a small beacon. He pushed the door open. Emma sat curled in the middle of the bed, knees hugged to her chest. Her hair stuck to her cheeks, damp with sweat, or tears, or both. The nightlight star on the wall cast soft color over her face. The stuffed bear lay on the floor, discarded. When she saw him, she burst into fresh tears. "You did not come back," she sobbed. "You did not come back, and I could not find you." He crossed the room in 3 strides and sat on the bed, pulling her into his arms. Her body felt too light, all angles, and shaking. "I am here," he said, voice rough. "I am right here, Em. I am home." "You did not come," she insisted against his shirt. "In the dream you did not come. You stayed at the party. You forgot." "I did not forget," he said. "I will not forget. I was always coming back. That is why I left. To keep helping the hospital, to make sure other kids can go home." "But Mom did not come home," Emma choked out. "You said she would try." "She did not." The words hit him like a physical thing. For a moment he could not breathe. He closed his eyes and held her tighter. "I know," he said finally. "I know, sweetheart. I am so sorry." From the doorway he heard the faint rustle of fabric as Harper shifted her weight. She stood there halfway into the room, one hand on the doorframe caught between giving them space and wanting to help. Emma, Harper said softly, "Can I come in?" Emma sniffed and turned her head just enough to see her. Her grip on Daniel's shirt loosened a little. "Okay," she whispered. Harper stepped fully into the room. The carpet was soft under her heels. She crouched beside the bed so she was on Emma's level. "Nightmares feel very real," Harper said. "Sometimes they feel more real than daytime. Your brain gets stuck in the scariest part and forgets the rest." "What if it is not just a dream?" Emma asked. "Mom did not come back. That was not a bad dream. That was real." "You are right," Harper said. "That was real. It hurt. It still hurts." Emma's chin wobbled. "I do not want that to happen again." "I know," Harper said. Her voice stayed calm. "Can I tell you something my grandma told me when I used to lie awake worrying all night?" Emma sniffed and rubbed her eyes. "What?" Harper glanced at Daniel. He nodded once and eased his hold, letting Emma lean back against the pillows while still keeping an arm around her. "My grandma said that worrying is like chewing the same piece of gum forever," Harper said. "You can keep chewing and chewing. Your jaw gets tired. Your mouth tastes weird. but it never turns into real food. It just wears you out. Emma frowned a little. That sounds gross. It is, Harper agreed. But here is the thing. Your brain thinks worrying is doing something. It thinks that if it keeps chewing, it can stop bad things from happening. Really, all it does is make you feel sick. Emma thought about that, breathing in little hiccups. So what do I do instead, she asked. You look around and you name what is real right now, Harper said. Not the dream version, the real version. She pointed gently. Right now you have your bed. Feel it under you. Can you feel it? Emma pressed her palm into the blanket. Yes. You have your nightlight, Harper went on. See your star? Emma turned her head. The plastic star shone on the wall, steady and blue. It is on, Harper said, like it always is when you sleep. Emma nodded slowly. And you have, your dad, Harper said. He left a room full of people in fancy clothes and drove home in the rain because you needed him. He is sitting right here. Emma shifted until she could see his face. His eyes were wet. He did not bother to hide it. You came, she whispered. I did, he said. I will always come back. Harper's voice stayed soft. Those three things are real. Bed, light, dad. You can hold them in your mind while the scary parts of your brain calm down. You cannot chew away sadness about your mom. That sadness is there because you loved her. But you can give the part of your brain that is screaming a different picture to look at. Emma's hand crept toward his and gripped it. What about you? She asked Harper. Are you real? Harper smiled, a quick curve of her mouth. As far as I know, she said, I am right here too. Can you stay until I fall asleep? Emma asked. Please. She looked from Harper to Daniel, seeking permission from both. If you do not mind, Daniel said quietly. I do not, Harper replied. She straightened and glanced around the room. The rocking chair in the corner stood empty, moonlight from the window streaking the back slats. She walked over and lowered herself into it. The wood creaked under her weight, a familiar, gentle sound. Do you want a story? She asked. Not a book one, Emma said. A made-up one. I can do that, Harper said. She let the chair find its rhythm. Forward, back, forward, back. Her voice settled into the space between breaths. Once there was a girl who could not sleep at night, she began. Every time she closed her eyes, her mind showed her all the scariest things it could imagine. So one evening, instead of closing her eyes, she started looking for little lights. Emma's breathing slowed a notch. She found a light in the hallway outside her room, Harper said. Just a tiny one from under the bathroom door. Then she noticed the light from the street lamp that came in through her curtains, and the little blinking light on the smoke detector that no one ever paid attention to. She started counting them. She lifted a hand and traced shapes in the air as she spoke. On the nights when her brain tried to scare her, she would make a map of every light she could see. The ones outside, the ones inside, the ones that meant someone else was awake somewhere, or that something was looking out for her. She could not stop every bad thing in the world, but she could remind herself that she was not sitting in total darkness. The rocking chair creaked in the quiet. After a while, she still had sad nights, Harper continued. She still missed people, but when she felt her thoughts starting to chew on the scary stuff, she would ask herself, what lights do I have tonight? And there was always at least one. Emma's eyes had closed. Her fingers still held Daniel's, but the grip had softened. Her breaths had lengthened into an even pattern. And sometimes Harper finished voice barely above a whisper. She realized that the brightest light in the room was not on the wall at all. It was the person who kept coming back. She let the last word hang, then fell silent. The rocking chair made a few more slow arcs, then stilled. Daniel sat very still, afraid to break the fragile calm. The nightlight painted a soft blue curve on his wrist. He listened to Emma breathe. At some point you have to move, Harper said quietly from the chair, or your leg will fall asleep. He almost smiled. Carefully, he slid his hand from Emma's, easing her fingers onto the blanket. She stirred once, then settled, turning her face into the pillow. He stood and stepped back. For a brief moment, all three of them were in the frame of the nightlight's glow. Then he moved toward the door. Harper rose from the chair, pressing a palm to her lower back. They walked out together into the hallway. Daniel left the door slightly open so the blue light could spill onto the floor. Rosa was waiting halfway down the hall, worry still tight in her eyes. She is quiet now, she said. She is sleeping, Daniel replied. Thank you for staying with her. Rosa looked past him at Harper and nodded in silent thanks. Then she disappeared toward her own small room at the back of the house. In the kitchen, the clock over the stove read a little past 10. The room felt different at this hour, the edges softer. Daniel reached into a cupboard for mugs and into another for a box of tea. I can make my own, Harper said. I am already committed, he replied. He filled the kettle and set it on the stove. The click of the burner sounded loud in the quiet house. Harper sat on one of the stools at the island, resting her elbows on the counter. She adores you, Daniel said. Emma is easy to adore, Harper answered. She should not have to think about any of this, he said. Hospitals death people not coming home. She already has, Harper said. She does not get to unsee it. All you can do is be honest in a way that she can carry. The kettle began to hum a soft buildup before the boil. She has these waves, he said. Weeks where she seems almost fine, then suddenly it is like she is back in the hospital corridor. So am I. He opened a drawer, then closed it, then opened the right one. The familiarity of the motion did not make it smoother. Children do not grieve in a straight line, Harper said. They circle around it. They touch it back, away, touch it again. Adults are not much different. We just pretend we are. How did you do it? He asked with your mother. How did you keep showing up when she did not remember you? Harper traced a small ring around a crumb on the counter with the tip of her finger. Her gaze dropped there. At first it felt like losing her every day, she said. Every morning I walked through the door, and every morning I watched her search my face for a name she could not find. The kettle whistled. Daniel turned off the burner and poured the water over the tea bags, the steam curling between them. I kept thinking there had to be a way to bring her back, she went on. If I used the right story or the right photo, if I sounded like I used to. When I finally stopped trying to fix it, I could see what was actually in front of me. A woman who was still here, even if the part that remembered me was not. She wrapped her hands around the mug he placed in front of her. The heat flushed a little color into her fingers. I started counting the moments I did get, she said. A song she hummed, a joke she laughed at even if she did not know why. I grieved her while she was alive, and then I grieved her again when she died. It was not fair. It was not clean. It was life. Daniel leaned back against the opposite counter with his own mug. The warmth seeped through the porcelain into his palms. I am afraid of failing, Emma, he said. Of not being enough on my own, of making one wrong choice that breaks something I cannot fix. You are allowed to be afraid, Harper said. Fear means you care what happens. It does not mean you are doing it wrong. I am winging it, he said. So is everyone, she replied. Some of us just admit it. Steam curled between them. Outside, the rain had softened to a light drizzle ticking against the window. Somewhere down the hall, the nightlight star kept its steady watch. They talked until the tea cooled, not in long speeches, but in small pieces. About sleep schedules, about the way grief could sneak up in the cereal aisle, about Emma's stubbornness, which Harper insisted was a survival skill. When the clock hand crept past 11, Harper glanced up at it. I should go, she said. You have had a full day and then some. I can call a car, he said. You can drive me, she replied, so you can make sure I actually left. He huffed out a breath that might have been a laugh. Let me get my keys. By the front door, she shrugged into her coat. He opened the door, and the cold air reached in carrying the smell of wet earth and asphalt. On the porch, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. The agency will pay you for the hours, he said, but you stayed longer. Let me add something for your time. She looked at the bills and then at him. Daniel, she said the job part ended when I sat on your daughter's floor. That does not mean you should not be paid, he said. You called a service to get through a night, she said. We ended up somewhere else. You do not owe me for that. Her tone stayed light, but her eyes were steady. If you need to do something, you can say thank you. He closed his wallet slowly and slid it back into his pocket. Thank you, he said. You are welcome, she replied. They walked to the car together. As they pulled away from the house, he glanced once at the upstairs window. A faint blue glow showed behind the curtains where Emma slept, a small light holding its ground in the dark. On the way to Harper's apartment, the city slid by in wet streaks of color. Neon reflected in puddles along the sidewalks. A bus hissed at a stop, its interior lights yellow against the dark. Harper rested her head lightly against the window, watching the blur. She settled fast, she said. Once she could see you, I mean. She usually does, Daniel replied. When I get there in time. In time for what matters, Harper said. He did not answer. His hands sat steady on the wheel, but his chest still carried the echo of Emma's sobs. They turned off the main road onto a quieter street. Older brick buildings lined both sides, fire escapes zigzagging up their faces. Harper straightened in her seat. Next block, she said, on the right, with the chipped blue door. He slowed and pulled up to the curb. The building had a small set of concrete steps up to the entrance. One of the buzzers by the doorbell was labeled James in worn black letters. For a moment, neither of them moved. Thank you again, he said, for staying, for coming with me, for all of it. You are welcome, Harper said. Thank you for trusting me in your house. He glanced at her. You made it feel less like a place I am trying to keep from cracking. Her mouth tilted. It felt like a place where a 6-year-old lives, she said. That is a good sign. Rain tapped on the roof. A car passed behind them, its tires whispering on the wet street. I should go up, she said, before my neighbor decides to claim the spot with a traffic cone. He unlocked the doors. She opened hers, then paused. Bonjour, then paused. If you want the agency to know I did not disappear, she said, you can tell them you survived the evening. I will do that, he said. She stepped out of the car. Cool air rushed in briefly. She shut the door and walked around the front, offering him a small wave through the glass. Then she climbed the steps to the chipped blue door and disappeared inside. Daniel sat for a few seconds more, watching the doorway as if she might appear again. When she did not, he exhaled and put the car back in gear. On the drive home, the streets felt different, quieter. The rush of leaving the gala had faded, leaving a tiredness that settled into his shoulders. Back at the house, he let himself in with his key. The entryway was dim. Rosa had turned off all but one small lamp in the living room. He went upstairs without turning on more lights. The hallway was lit only by the pale slice coming from Emma's door. He eased it open as far as he needed to look in. She lay curled on her side now, one arm wrapped around the bare cheek, pressed against its worn fur. Her hair fanned over the pillow. The lines of tension from earlier were gone. The nightlight star glowed on the wall, painting a gentle half-circle above her bed. He stayed there a moment, leaning on the doorframe. Then he closed the door to its usual crack and went to his own room. When he lay down, the house sounded like it always did at that hour. Pipes ticked. The refrigerator hummed faintly. The rain softened to a murmur against the roof. Sleep came in patches broken by images of hospital corridors and the feel of small fingers gripping his shirt. Each time he woke, he listened for Emma. When he heard only quiet, he let his eyes close again. Morning arrived in a gray wash across the windows. The alarm buzzed. He silenced it and took a moment before getting up. His legs felt heavier than usual when they swung over the side of the bed. In the kitchen, Rosa stood at the stove flipping pancakes. The air smelled of butter and coffee. Emma sat at the table in pajamas with foxes on them, legs swinging a glass of orange juice in front of her. "Good morning," Daniel said. Emma twisted in her chair. "You came back," she said, as if confirming it in daylight too. "I told you I would," he said. She squinted at him. "You look tired." "I had a late night," he replied. Rosa snorted softly at the stove. "You and your tuxedo," she said. Emma brightened. "Did people wear sparkly dresses?" "Some of them," he said. He poured himself coffee and sat. Some of them looked like they were about to be attacked by sequins. Emma giggled. She poked at the edge of her plate, then looked up again. "Did Harper stay the whole time?" she asked. "She stayed longer than she had to," he said. "She came back with me when Rosa called. I thought maybe I dreamed that," Emma said. Her being here again. It was all mixed up. "It was real," he said. "She came back. She sat in the chair in your room and told you a story." Emma's expression softened. "The chewing gum story," she said. "And the lights." "That one," he said. "She was nice," Emma said. "I liked her." Rosa slid a plate with pancakes in front of her. "Eat," she said. "Nice people still need breakfast." Emma picked up her fork, then paused. "Is she coming back?" she asked. Daniel stirred his coffee. The question he had been expecting sat in the air between them. "She works with a company," he said slowly. "They send her to different events. Last night she came because I asked them." "So you can ask them again," Emma said, "right?" He looked at her small, serious face sprinkled with crumbs. "Maybe," he said. "Would you want that?" Emma nodded so hard her ponytail bounced. "She made the scary part smaller," she said. "Not gone, but smaller." He felt something pull tight in his throat. He took a sip of coffee to cover it. "I will see what I can do," he said. After breakfast, the morning slid into its usual rhythm. School clothes, lost shoes located under the couch, lunch packed. Emma's backpack zipped and unzipped twice to check for her folder. At the car, she paused before climbing in. "You will be there after school?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "I will finish work and come get you. And if you have to go somewhere fancy again," she said, "you will tell me first." "I will tell you," he said. She climbed into her seat, satisfied for now. At the office, the day's tasks lined up waiting. Emails, a meeting with the research team, a call with a donor in another time zone. Through it all, he kept seeing the blue star on Emma's wall, the way her grip on his hand had eased when Harper talked about lights. Between meetings, he closed his office door and picked up his phone. The number for the agency was still in his recent calls. The same calm voice answered. "Thank you for calling," the woman said. "How can we help you today, Dr. Reed?" "This is Daniel Reed," he said. "We spoke yesterday." I wanted to confirm payment for last night and to give feedback. Oh, of course, she said, her tone brightening. One moment while I pull up your file. He waited, watching a gull drift past the window and settle on the edge of the roof opposite. Yes, here we are, the woman said. You had Harper James assigned for the gala. How was your experience? She was excellent, he said. Professional, kind, very good with my daughter. Please make a note of that. I am glad to hear it, she said. We will definitely pass that along. He hesitated, then continued. I also wanted to ask about the possibility of booking her again. Not for another gala, for something more informal. A museum trip with my daughter. There was a pause on the line, just long enough for him to picture her scanning a list of rules. Our companions set their schedules independently, the woman said carefully. We do not assign them to ongoing work without their consent. Also, for privacy reasons, we do not share their personal contact information with clients. I understand, he said. I am not asking you to give me her number. I wondered if you could tell her I appreciated what she did, and that if she ever wanted to contact me about spending time with my daughter in a non-event context, I would be open to that. Paid, of course. We can certainly note that, she said. We can include your office number or another number you prefer, and add a message that you have expressed interest in future arrangements. It would be up to her to reach out. That is fine, he said. He gave her his mobile number. Is there anything else I can help you with today? She asked. No, he said. Thank you. When the call ended, he set the phone down and looked out at the water beyond the city. Clouds hung low over the bay. A tugboat moved slowly, leaving a faint wake. He told himself it was unlikely she would call. There was no reason she had to. She had done her job, and more than that, and had every right to move on to the next assignment without looking back. Still, as the day went on, he found himself glancing at his phone more often than usual. Between charts and proposals, his attention slid toward the black screen at the edge of his desk. By late afternoon, he had convinced himself it was not going to ring. He opened a file from the research team and forced his focus onto it. The phone buzzed against the wood. He glanced at it, expecting a number he knew. His chest gave a small, unnecessary jump when he saw an unfamiliar one instead. He picked up. Daniel Reed. Hi, a voice said. It is Harper. I hope this is still a good time. For a second, words caught somewhere behind his ribs. He stood, walked to the office door, and shut it before answering. It is a good time, he said. Hello? I asked the agency if I could have your number, she said. They said you had left it and that you wanted to pass along feedback. I wanted to check on Emma myself. Is she all right today? He leaned against the closed door and let his shoulders lower a fraction. She is better, he said. Breakfast was mostly jokes about hospital food. She asked if you were real. That is a fair question, Harper said. What did you tell her? That you were, he said, and that you came back last night. I am glad she remembers it as more than just the nightmare, Harper said. She remembers the chewing gum, he said. Harper laughed, a soft sound through the line. Good. That one has been in the family for years. There was a brief lull. He found that he did not want to fill it with small talk. The quiet felt easier than it would have a day before. I also heard you were interested in something outside of crisis mode, she said. The agency mentioned a museum. There is an installation at the Contemporary Art Museum, he said. A room full of lights. I know the one, Harper said. Kids go wild for it. It is like stepping into a jar full of fireflies. Emma likes drawing things that glow, he said. Stars, street lamps, toaster buildings. I would be happy to come with you too, Harper said. If you are comfortable with that. It would not have to be through the agency. We could keep it simple. He shifted his weight, crossing one ankle over the other. Would Saturday work for you? She asked. He thought of his calendar. There were emails he could answer later, tasks he could move. Nothing that felt more important than watching his daughter stand in a room full of light. Saturday works, he said. Late morning. That is perfect, she said. You let me know what time is best for Emma. I can meet you there or at your place if that is easier. We can pick you up, he said, surprising himself with how quickly the answer came. All right, she said. Text me your address and I will send mine in return. And thank you for being open to this. I know it is not a small thing inviting someone farther into your orbit. He looked at the framed photo on his shelf, Lena holding a toddler, Emma, both of them squinting in bright sun. Then he looked back at the silent phone screen, its surface reflecting only his own face. Thank you for calling, he said. After they hung up, he saved her number with her name. The act felt both ordinary and strange. That evening, as he stirred pasta sauce at the stove, Emma climbed onto a stool by the counter. You are smiling, she said, suspicious. I am thinking, he said, about what she asked. About Saturday, he replied. How do you feel about going to the museum with the light room? Harper said she could come too. Emma's whole body seemed to lift. Really? Really, he said. She clapped her hands once loud in the small kitchen. Then I feel very good about Saturday, she said. Saturday came with shy sunlight pushing through the clouds. The rain had finally pulled back, leaving the streets rinsed and bright. Emma was ready an hour early. She sat on the couch in leggings printed with stars and a sweatshirt that said, "Make your own magic," clutching a small sketchbook. Every few minutes, she checked the digital clock on the cable box. "Is it time now?" she asked. "Not yet," Daniel said from the doorway, straightening the collar of his shirt. "We will go in 20 minutes. "You said that 10 minutes ago," she pointed out. "Time moves differently when you stare at it," he said. She flopped back dramatically, limbs sprawled. "It is being mean." Rosa walked through with a basket of laundry. "Time is not mean, pequeña," she said. "It is just stubborn." Emma rolled onto her side. "Is Harper coming here or meeting us there?" "We are picking her up," Daniel said. "On the way." Emma sat up again, energy flooding back. "Do you know what kind of door she has?" "A blue one," Daniel said. "Chipped paint." "That sounds like a story," Emma said. "It probably is," he replied. When it was finally time, he took his jacket from the hook and grabbed the car keys. Emma slipped her arms into her coat and slung the strap of her sketchbook across her chest like a messenger bag. In the car, her feet bounced against the seat. She pressed her face to the window as they turned into Harper's neighborhood, the more compact brick buildings of the older part of town stacking up on either side. "Are these apartments?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "Harper lives in one of them." "Do they have elevators?" she asked. "Some do," he said. "Some do not." He slowed as he spotted the chipped blue door. It looked less tired in the daylight, the flaws of the paint softened. A flower box sat on the window ledge beside it, filled with herbs. "That one," he said. Emma unbuckled before he had fully stopped. "Can I ring the bell?" she asked. "Wait for the car to stop," he said. Then yes. The tires came to rest. She popped out of her seat and scrambled out of the car. He followed at a more reasonable pace. At the door, Emma stood on tiptoe to press the buzzer labeled James. They heard the faint crackle inside, then a click. A moment later, the door opened to reveal Harper in jeans and a soft gray sweater, hair pulled back into a loose knot. Without the black dress and heels, she looked younger and less polished, but somehow more like herself. "Morning," she said, smiling. "You found it." "You have plants," Emma said, peering past her at the flower box. "Those are basil and mint," Harper said. "The basil is winning." Emma sniffed the air. "It smells like spaghetti," she said. "That is the basil's favorite compliment," Harper replied. Daniel felt his mouth curve. "Ready for a room full of lights?" he asked. "I am," she said. "Let me grab my bag." She disappeared briefly and returned with a small crossbody bag slung over her shoulder. She locked the door behind her, checked the handle twice, then turned. "Car or walking?" she asked. "Car," Daniel said. "Too far for small legs." Emma took Harper's hand on the way back down the steps. Harper did not seem surprised by the gesture. She adjusted her pace so Emma could hop over every crack on the sidewalk. At the museum, the lobby smelled faintly of dust and wax and coffee from a small cart near the entrance. High ceilings arched overhead. Echoes bounced in soft layers. Emma's eyes widened as she looked up at the banners hanging from the rafters. One showed a photograph of the light installation they had come to see. Hundreds of bulbs suspended in midair, glowing like a captured galaxy. "That one," she said, pointing. "We are going there." At the end of the hall, Harper said, "We have to walk past some other art first. It is like earning dessert." "I like dessert," Emma said. "So do I," Harper agreed. They moved through the first gallery. Large abstract canvases lined the walls, colors bleeding into each other. Emma stopped in front of one. "It looks like someone spilled juice," she said. "That might be exactly what they wanted you to think," Harper said. Daniel stayed a half step behind them, watching their reflections merge and separate in the polished floor. Harper knelt when Emma wanted to whisper about a particularly odd sculpture. She did not hurry her even when other visitors edged around them. At the entrance to the light room, an attendant explained the rules. Limited time inside, no running, no touching the bulbs. Stay with your group. Emma nodded solemnly, even as her fingers twitched in anticipation. The attendant opened the door. They stepped into a world of hanging light. Bulbs of different sizes floated at every level, suspended on thin wires from the ceiling. The floor was mirrored, as were the walls, so the lights reflected in all directions. It felt as if they were standing inside a field of stars that went on forever. Emma drew in a sharp breath. For a moment, she said nothing. Then quietly she whispered, "Wow." Daniel watched her face more than the installation. The glow from the bulbs reflected in her eyes. Her mouth parted, the small line between her brows smoothing out. "This is like inside my nightlight," she said. Harper laughed softly. "A very fancy version of it," she said. They moved carefully along the path that wound between the bulbs. Emma held one of Harper's hands and one of Daniel's, tethering them together. The lights warmed the air around them. Soft ambient music hummed somewhere out of sight. "How many do you think there are?" Emma asked. "Hundreds," Daniel said. "Maybe thousands," Harper added. Emma craned her neck. "You cannot count them all," she said. "You do not have to," Harper said. "You just have to notice a few. Like the girl in your story," Emma said. "The one who made maps?" Harper looked at her. "Exactly like her," she said. Emma tilted her head back and started whispering numbers anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, she murmured, then gave up halfway and giggled. A bulb hung low near her shoulder. She leaned closer without touching it. "They look like they are breathing," she said. Daniel closed his eyes for a second and just listened. To her voice, to the gentle creak of the floor under their combined weight, to the quiet murmur of other visitors, distant and unimportant. His chest felt looser, not empty, not fixed, just less tight. Their allotted time passed quickly. The attendant opened the door again and signaled that the next group was waiting. They stepped out into the hallway where the light felt flatter. Emma blinked. "Everything looks dim now," she said. "That is what happens when you walk out of a star jar," Harper said. "Your eyes need a minute." "Can we go back in?" Emma asked. "Another time," Daniel said. "There is a limit, so everyone gets a turn." Emma frowned, then accepted it. "Okay," she said, "but I want to draw it later." "That is why you brought your sketchbook," Harper said. They spent the next hour wandering through other rooms. In a gallery of black and white photographs, Harper asked Emma what stories she thought the people in the pictures were living. In a sculpture hall, Emma tried to mimic the poses without touching anything, her limbs stiff and dramatic. By the time they reached the museum cafe, everyone was ready to sit. They found a small table near the window. Outside, the sky held a pale wash of blue, the kind that could go either way later. Daniel brought over 3 cups of hot chocolate. Emma's had extra whipped cream. "You know what this needs?" Harper said, picking up a wooden stirrer. "A serious science experiment." She carefully dipped the stick into the whipped cream, then dragged it through the chocolate-making swirls. "There," she said, "Galaxy hot chocolate." Emma copied her, concentrating on the pattern. "If I drink it, will I have stars inside me?" she asked. "You already do," Harper said. Emma took a tentative sip, then nodded, satisfied. "Can I show you my light map later?" she asked Harper. "I did not know you had one," Harper said. "I will make it," Emma said, "from the room, in my sketchbook." "I cannot wait to see it," Harper replied. After the cafe, they headed home. In the back seat, Emma opened her sketchbook and began to draw while the car rolled through the streets. Harper angled herself so she could see without crowding. By the time they pulled into the driveway, a cluster of circles and lines filled the page. Some bulbs were big, some small. She had drawn the 3 of them in the middle as little stick figures, each with a tiny light over their heads. Rosa met them at the door, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "How was the art world?" she asked. "Glowy," Emma said. She handed her the sketchbook. "We went inside a star jar." "That sounds dangerous," Rosa said, but her eyes softened at the drawing. The afternoon settled into a gentle rhythm. Harper stayed. Emma insisted. They ended up at the dining table with watercolors spread out on newspapers. The sun drifted from one side of the house to the other, then slipped behind the trees. Daniel sat nearby with his laptop open. The cursor blinked on an unanswered email while he listened to the rise and fall of their voices. "Do you ever draw your mom?" Harper asked, dipping her brush in blue. "Sometimes," Emma said. "She is hard." "Hard how?" Harper asked. "I remember her face, but it moves around," Emma said. "I cannot make it stay the way it was." "That makes sense," Harper said. "Faces are tricky, especially ones you love." "Do you draw your mom?" Emma asked. "Sometimes," Harper said. "Mostly I draw things that make me think of her. The chair she liked, her coffee cup, the flower that grew outside our window." Emma nodded. "I draw Dad's coffee mug," she said. "It has a crack. He uses it anyway." "That sounds like him," Harper said. Later, when the paint had to dry and the brushes needed washing, Emma dragged Harper to the couch to show her a cartoon. They sat pressed together, Emma's head resting against Harper's arm. From his place in the kitchen, Daniel watched them. The domesticity of the scene hit him with a strange mix of comfort and fear. It felt like something you could get used to without noticing that it had become necessary. On another Saturday, a few weeks later, the 3 of them ended up in the small park down the street. Emma chased a soccer ball across damp grass. Harper cheered every time her foot made solid contact. Between kicks, Emma trotted back to the bench where Harper and Daniel sat. "Harper," Emma said, fingers twisting a strand of hair. "If you were my mom, would you braid my hair like Rosa does? Or different?" Daniel's breath caught. He forced himself not to react, eyes fixed on the playground ahead. Harper reached out and gently untangled the piece of hair from Emma's fingers. "If I were your mom," she said slowly, "I would probably braid it in a way that hurt your scalp a little by accident, and then your dad would have to rescue you with a hairbrush." Emma snorted. "He already does that." "I believe it," Harper said. "But here is the thing. I am not your mom. You already have a mom. She is on your drawings and in your stories, and in the way you wrinkle your nose like that." Emma wrinkled it more just to check. "I can be your Harper," Harper went on. "Your Harper can learn to braid if you want. She can come to light rooms and draw messy stars and watch cartoons with you. She can care about you a lot. But she cannot be your mom. No one else gets that job." Emma looked down at her sneakers, then back up at Harper. "Is that okay?" Harper asked. Emma considered. "Can Harper come to my school art show if we have one?" she asked. "If your dad says yes," Harper said. Emma turned to Daniel. "Can she, if there is an art show and Harper is free," he said, "she can come." Emma nodded, apparently satisfied with the arrangement. She darted back to her ball ponytail swinging. Harper watched her go, then exhaled slowly. Her shoulders eased a little. "You handled that well," Daniel said. "I am making it up as I go," she replied. "You drew a good line," he said. "She deserves a line," Harper said. "So do you, so does Lena." The way she said Lena's name, careful and respectful, landed softly. Daniel looked at her, then back at his daughter in the grass. The light through the clouds had shifted to a warmer tone. It hit the metal of the swings, the leaves, the stray bits of glass, and the gravel, turning small things bright. Week by week, tiny adjustments settled into place. Emma's questions changed shape. The house's silence felt less absolute. On the nights when the nightmares did not come, Daniel sometimes found himself standing in the hallway anyway, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the soft buzz of the nightlight, aware that the map of lights in their lives now included one more. It was Margot who pointed it out first. "You know you are allowed to have an evening off that does not involve a hospital or a meltdown," she said one Tuesday, standing in his doorway with a stack of files. "I have evenings off," Daniel said. "Evenings when you go home, do emails on the couch, and fall asleep with your laptop still open." "Do not count," she replied. He started to argue, then stopped. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a different picture flickered. Harper at his kitchen island, laughing at something Emma said. The three of them in the light room. Harper on the park bench, sunlight catching in her hair. Margot set the files on his desk. "Rosa mentioned Emma has a birthday party this Saturday, at that trampoline place. She tells you everything," he said. "She tells me what she thinks I need to know to keep you in one piece," Margot said. "Rosa said she is happy to take Emma, which means you have a free evening, which means you could, in theory, call a person you like and ask if they want to do something not involving cartoons." He looked at her. "You have been talking to Rosa about my social life." "Someone had to," she said. "She is on my side." He picked up a pen more to give his hand something to do than because he needed it. "You are making a lot of assumptions." "Am I wrong?" she asked. He did not answer. She smiled just a little. "At least think about it," she said, "before you spend another Saturday reorganizing the pantry." That evening, after Emma had gone to bed and the dishes were done, he sat at the kitchen table with his phone in front of him. The nightlight in the hallway cast a faint glow along the floor. The house felt less empty than it had a few months before, but it was still very quiet when Emma slept. He picked up the phone, put it down, picked it up again. Harper's name sat in his recent calls. He tapped it before he could talk himself out of it. She answered on the second ring. "Hi," she said. "Hey." "Hi," he replied. "Is this a bad time?" "I am just grading," she said. "Adult homework. I started a class. It is as glamorous as it sounds." "What kind of class?" he asked. "Art therapy," she said. "Intro level. I am seeing if my brain remembers how to be in school." He smiled into the empty kitchen. "That seems right for you," he said. "I hope so," she replied. "What is up?" "Emma has a birthday party this Saturday," he said. "At a trampoline place. Rosa is taking her. I will be forcibly banned from embarrassing her." Tragic, Harper said. "All those foam pits lost to you. So, I will have some time," he said. "I wondered if you would want to have dinner. Just dinner, just the two of us." There was a pause. He heard pages rustle on her end. "I would like that," she said. "A lot." They settled on a small place Margot had once mentioned, a bar with good food and live acoustic music on weekends. It felt safer than a white tablecloth restaurant and more intentional than grabbing takeout. On Saturday afternoon, the house buzzed with a different kind of energy. Emma stuffed a wrapped present into a gift bag, added 3 stickers, took them off, and added 2 different ones. "Do I have to come back right after the party?" she asked Rosa, not looking up. "We will see how much sugar you eat," Rosa said. Maybe I will need to walk you around the block 10 times first. Emma giggled. Can I tell Harper about the trampolines? Tomorrow, Daniel said. She and I are going to dinner tonight. Emma's eyes lit up. Like a date. He hesitated, then nodded. Like a date, he said. Emma considered this serious for a moment. You need to wear something that looks like you thought about it, she said. I will consult my stylist, he replied. Your stylist is Rosa, Emma said. She has better taste than you, Rosa called from the hall. By the time Rosa and Emma left, the sun was tilting low, throwing long bands of light through the windows. The house echoed differently without Emma in it. Daniel changed his shirt twice before deciding on a dark one that did not feel like work and did not feel like a gala either. He parked a block away from the bar and walked the rest of the distance. The sign above the door was a simple wooden plank with the name burned into it. Soft light spilled through the windows, along with a murmur of conversation and a faint thread of guitar. Harper was already there when he walked in, seated at a small table near the corner stage. She wore a green dress that landed somewhere between casual and careful. Her hair was down waves brushing her shoulders. She waved when she saw him. The sight loosened something in him that he had not realized was tight. You are early, she said as he slid into the chair across from her. So are you, he replied. Old habits, she said. Teaching. You have to be there before the class or someone will glue something to the ceiling. A server brought menus and water. The room hummed with the low conversation of people content to be where they were. The stage was empty for now, mic stands waiting. This place is nice, Harper said, looking around. Lived in but not sticky. I was told the food is good, he said. By whom, she asked. A very organized woman who thinks I do not have enough fun, he replied. Margot, she guessed. He nodded. They ordered. Burgers for both fries to share some kind of roasted vegetable that felt like a concession to adulthood. When the server left, there was a brief moment where the air felt different, unshaped. This is the first time we have done this, Harper said, without a 6-year-old or a museum or an agency involved. It is, he said. Feels different, she said. It does, he replied. She smiled. In a good way, she added. He let out a breath. Yes, he said. In a good way. The first musician took the stage, a man with an acoustic guitar and a voice that fit the wood and brick of the room. He sang something low and steady, more background than performance. So, Harper said, tell me something about you that has nothing to do with hospital's grief or being a father. He thought for a second. That is most of my material, he said. I am sure there is more, she said. Start small. Favorite cereal as a kid? Cornflakes, he said. She wrinkled her nose. That is not a favorite. That is a cry for help. We did not get sugar cereals, he said. If we wanted it to taste like something, we had to add fruit. Fruit is not a flavor, she said. It is a lifestyle. He laughed, a short, genuine sound. What about you? He asked. Favorite cereal? Anything with marshmallows that turn the milk a different color, she said. My mom pretended not to see it because I liked reading the box. You read the box, he said. Front, back, sides, she said. It was a story, even if it was about a cartoon leprechaun. He smiled. Books make sense. They did, she said. They still do. They have beginnings and middles and some kind of end. Even if the end is messy, someone chose it. Real life does not get that luxury. He let that sit between them. The musician's voice slid over the edges of their table and moved on. Your turn, she said. Something else non-medical. He picked at the edge of his napkin. I wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid, he said, until I realized you have to be able to see more than just the first line on the eye chart. Bad eyesight, she asked. Terrible, he said. Glasses by 2nd grade. Contact lenses in high school, so I did not look like an owl. You would have been a very serious pilot, she said. Probably too serious, he replied. What about you? What did you want to be? A dancer, she said without hesitation. Until I figured out you have to like people watching you, not just dancing in your room. You did not like being watched, he asked. Not in that way, she said. I liked moving. I did not like being judged on how my moving looked. So you picked art, he said. So I picked art, she agreed. Still moving, less leotards. Their food arrived. The conversation slid into easier shapes. Stories about college roommates, bad haircuts. The time he set off a dorm fire alarm trying to make grilled cheese. The time she locked herself out of her car twice in the same week. Somewhere between the first and second song, something shifted. The topics brushed closer to the edges of the things they usually circled. You seem less tense tonight, she said at one point, dipping a fry into ketchup. Less fluorescent lighting, he said. And no one asking when you last slept, she said. You asked that he reminded her. I did, she said. That was before I knew your baseline. He watched her lick a bit of salt from her fingertip. The gesture was small, casual, but he felt it. Do you ever feel guilty, he asked suddenly, for enjoying something when life has been what it has? She set the fry down and wiped her fingers on a napkin. All the time, she said. When my mom was in the memory care unit, there were afternoons I would leave and sit in my car and listen to a song I liked on repeat, just to feel something that was not grief. For a while, I thought that made me selfish. Then I realized if I did not have anything left to bring back with me. He traced a circle on the condensation of his glass. It feels like cheating sometimes, he said, to sit here and talk about cereal while Lena is not here. Harper looked at him steady. You loved her, she said. You still do. That does not mean you have to live in a museum of that love forever. He swallowed. The words landed deeper than the noise around them. I do not know how to be anything else, he said. You are already being something else, she said. You are here. You are making bad jokes about cornflakes. You are watching me steal your fries. He looked down at the plate. You are stealing a lot of them. I am helping, she said. They do not want to be alone. He laughed again more quietly. As they left the bar later, the air had cooled. The streetlights cast circles on the sidewalk. Their breath showed in thin clouds. They walked to his car side by side. His hand brushed hers once by accident. The skin contact was brief and electric, and his heart gave a sudden jump. He thought about reaching for her hand on purpose. The space between their fingers felt like a decision. He did not take it. He opened her door instead. She slid in, looking up at him with an expression he could not quite read. When he rounded the car and took the driver's seat, she had buckled her belt and folded her hands loosely in her lap. Thank you for dinner, she said as he started the engine. Thank you for coming, he said. They drove in a comfortable quiet. The night outside felt less heavy than most. At her building, he parked and walked her to the steps. The chipped blue door loomed above them, softened by the porch light. This was good, she said. I had a good time. So did I, he said. She hesitated, then leaned in and kissed his cheek. Her lips were warm from the air inside the bar. Good night, Daniel, she said. Good night, he replied. He watched her go up the steps and disappear inside. His hand lifted to the spot she had kissed almost without his permission. On the other side of the door, Harper leaned her back against it and exhaled. Her apartment smelled faintly of coffee grounds and paint. She crossed to the small table by the window, where her phone lay, and picked it up. She scrolled to a contact labeled Maya and hit call. When it went to voicemail, she spoke anyway. Hey, she said. It is me. I survived a real date with the doctor. No agency, no crisis, no kid in the next room, just burgers and bad music and his pulse when he laughs at his own jokes. She paused, rubbing the bridge of her nose. It felt good, she went on. Which is also the part that feels scary. I keep walking into that house and sitting in that kitchen, and it feels like I am borrowing someone else's chair. Like I am going to look up and see the person it really belongs to standing in the doorway. She sat on the edge of the bed, untying her shoes. I like them, she said. Both of them. More than I meant to. I am just trying to figure out how to care about them without pretending I am not afraid of being one more thing they lose. She caught herself and laughed quietly. Anyway, she said, that is all. Call me back when you are done living your glamorous child-free life. I will probably be asleep by 10 because I am secretly 80. She hung up and set the phone on the nightstand. In the dark, the city lights pressed in at the edges of her blinds. For a moment, she let herself picture the hallway outside Emma's room. The wash of the nightlight on the floor, a map of small, steady lights that now included her whether she had meant it to or not. Summer slid in quietly. The rain still came, but the days stretched longer, and the air in the evenings lost its bite. One Saturday night, the backyard held on to the last of the light. The grass was a little too long soft under bare feet. Rosa had helped Daniel string a line of small white bulbs along the edge of the porch weeks before. Now, as the sky thinned from blue to gray, he switched them on. The bulbs blinked to life one by one, throwing warm circles over the wooden steps. Lights, Emma breathed from the doorway. We made our own star jar. She darted past him, jar already in hand. She had decorated it with stickers and a band of tape that said, "Handle with care" in bright letters. Shoes, Rosa said automatically from the kitchen. Emma pretended not to hear. The grass brushed her ankles as she ran. Harper laughed softly. She stood on the porch with her hands in the pockets of her cardigan, watching Emma dart across the yard. You are mentoring a rebel, she said. She gets it from Rosa, Daniel said. Rosa gets it from surviving you, Harper replied. He accepted that as fair. The air smelled of cut grass from a neighbor's yard, and the charcoal from someone else's grill drifting across the fences. The sky above the trees held the first pinpricks of real stars, faint and waiting. Emma spun in a slow circle, peering into the dim edges of the lawn. What if they do not come? She asked. They will, Harper said. Give them a minute. They like it when you act like you are not desperate. Emma lowered her jar slightly, as if to show she was casual. I am not desperate, she announced. Of course not, Harper said. The first firefly blinked near the fence. Just a soft pulse on and off again. Then another closer to the maple tree. Little signals lit up the dusk. There, Emma cried. I see them. She ran toward the nearest one jar, held out, moving carefully now. The firefly blinked, floated a little higher, blinked again. Slow, Harper said. They will not come if you chase them like a cat. I am not a cat, Emma said, but she slowed her steps, the jar cradled in both hands. Daniel sat down on the top step, elbows on his knees. Harper joined him, leaving a small space between them. Their shoulders were not quite touching. The line of string lights arched overhead, reflected in the sliding door behind them. Remind me why we agreed to trapping small glowing bugs, he said. We are not trapping them, Harper said. We are interviewing them briefly. Is that what we are calling it? He asked. Yes, she said, and then we let them go with a better sense of purpose. In the yard, Emma made a soft sound of triumph. She had coaxed a firefly into the jar. Its light flicked on and off behind the glass. That one likes me, she said. They tend to like people who squeal, Harper called. I am not squealing, Emma protested though. The next sound she made was dangerously close. Another firefly drifted close to the porch level, with Harper's knees. She watched it blink its body, a tiny comma of light in the air. You know, she said, if someone had told me a year ago I would spend my Saturday nights counting bugs with a doctor and his kid, I would have assumed I got hit on the head. Better or worse than a hospital gala, he asked. Better coffee, she said. Less complicated shoes. He smiled. A breeze moved across the yard, stirring the leaves. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked once and stopped. Emma caught a second firefly, and then a third. The jar glowed in her hands. I have a whole galaxy, she said. Careful, Harper said. Do not shake it. I know, Emma said. I remember. She set the jar on the low table by the steps and sat cross-legged beside it, chin on her knees, watching the lights blink. Daniel looked at her profile, the way the glow outlined her hair, the softness in her shoulders. For the first time in a long time, she looked fully like a child at play, not a soldier between battles. She is different these days, he said. Harper followed his gaze. She has more to draw, she said. More lights on her map. You did that, he said. I helped, Harper said. You did the coming back part. He let that pass. The truth of it sat somewhere deep and raw. For a few minutes they just watched Emma. The string lights hummed quietly. The fireflies rose and fell over the yard, tiny private signals. You ever think about how this started? He asked, keeping his voice low so it did not carry. How what started, she asked. This, he said. He made a vague gesture that took in the porch, the yard, Emma with her jar. Us. You called an agency because you did not want to be pitied at dinner, Harper said. Pretty ordinary beginning, really. It did not feel ordinary, he said. It did not to me either, she admitted. When I saw Emma's drawing with the empty space, I thought, this is above my pay grade. He remembered that afternoon, the way his hand had clenched on the doorframe, listening to his daughter explain the gap she had left. He remembered the way Harper had responded, not stepping into it, just acknowledging that space existed. He rubbed his thumb along the edge of the step. The wood was rough in one spot where a screw had gone in crooked. I keep thinking about Lena, he said. About how we met, how sure I was. I thought that was my one big story. Harper did not speak right away. The pause felt respectful, not empty. She was a big story, she said. That does not mean she was the only one you get. It feels like it, he said. Everything is measured against her, even when I try not to. I stand in a room with you and Emma and these ridiculous lights, and part of my brain is still checking if I should feel this, if it is allowed. What does the rest of your brain say, she asked. That I want to be here, he said. That I like you. That I like what happens to the house when you walk into it. His voice caught on the last words. He did not try to clear it. That I am afraid, he added. Afraid of loving someone and losing them again. Afraid of putting Emma through another absence. Afraid of setting her drawing and my life up for another missing piece. The admission hung between them. Crickets chirped at the edges of the yard. The fireflies went on, signaling unconcerned. Harper folded her hands together in her lap. Her knuckles were pale where she squeezed them. I know that fear, she said, in a different shape. He glanced at her. In the soft wash of the porch lights, her face looked both older and younger. When my mother died, she said part of me decided that loving people was a bad investment, that if I kept my circle small and my attachments looser, it would hurt less when something happened. Did it? He asked. For a while, she said. Then I realized I had built myself a very safe, very lonely little island. There is not much point surviving everything if you are sitting on your own in the middle of it. He looked at the yard, at Emma humming to herself over the jar, at the fence line the shadows the neighbor's porch light flicking on. "Do you still feel that way?" he asked. "Sometimes," she said. "There are days when I feel that panic, like I am standing in your kitchen in a chair that does not belong to me and someone is going to come in and ask me to get out of it. I worry that I am temporary, that you will wake up one day and decide it was a mistake to let me in, that Emma will have to redraw her maps again. And yet you keep coming," he said. "And yet I keep coming," she agreed. "Because for now, being here feels better than being safe somewhere else." He turned that over. The idea that she was scared too, that she was choosing this with her eyes open, made his own fear feel less like a private flaw and more like something they shared. Emma lifted the jar, inspecting it. "Should I let them go?" she asked. "In a minute," Harper said. "Let them catch their breath." "They are bugs," Emma said. "Even bugs need a moment," Harper replied. Emma considered that, then set the jar down again. Daniel shifted on the step, the wood warm under his palm. "You know I cannot make promises I have no right to make," he said quietly. "I cannot say nothing bad will happen. That would be a lie. Life has already proved it is not that generous." Harper's gaze stayed on the yard. "I would not believe you if you did," she said. "But I can tell you this," he said. "Right now I am here. I want you here. I care about you, about Emma, with you. It scares me, but I do." "That is a lot of words for a doctor," she said, a small smile in her voice. "Do you need me to repeat them?" he asked. "No," she said. "I heard them." She shifted closer on the step. Their shoulders brushed the contact, sending a quiet shock through him. He did not move away. "I cannot promise you I will not be afraid either," she said. "I cannot promise I will not mess up or say the wrong thing or need space at weird times. I can only promise that when I say I am in this, I mean it in the present tense. I am here, tonight, under these ridiculous lights, with you and your kid in your bug jar." He let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. The air felt fuller in his lungs. Emma stood, jar in hand. "Okay," she said. "Time to be free again." She unscrewed the lid and held the jar out. For a second, nothing happened. Then one firefly rose, slowly blinking as it went. Another followed. Little sparks lifted into the dark, their light flickering as they joined the others in the yard. Emma watched until the last glow disappeared into the night. She screwed the lid back on the empty jar and hugged it to her chest. "They know where to go now," she said. "I think they do," Harper replied. Emma climbed the steps and squeezed herself between them, leaning against Daniel's side, while her feet rested against Harper's leg. "I am tired," she said. "That happens when you chase stars," Harper said. "We will get you ready for bed," Daniel said. "Then we can see what your nightlight thinks of tonight." Emma nodded, already half gone with sleep. He stood, lifting her easily. Her head dropped onto his shoulder. Her hair smelled of grass and chocolate from the ice cream Rosa had given her after dinner. As he carried her inside, he glanced back once at Harper. She sat on the step face, turned up toward the string lights, the empty jar beside her. The porch light and the bulbs and the faint glow from Emma's room behind the window all overlapped for a moment, layers of small, stubborn brightness holding their ground against the dark. Emma was already half asleep by the time Daniel reached the top of the stairs. Her arms hung heavy around his neck, the empty jar bumping gently against his back. In her room, the nightlight star glowed on the wall, soft and constant. He set the jar on her dresser and lay her on the bed. She muttered something about bug interviews and rolled onto her side. "Teeth," he said quietly. She cracked one eye open. "I did them earlier with Rosa. She told me," he said. "Just checking." "Over-checking," she murmured, but there was no annoyance in it. He pulled the blanket up to her chin and smoothed hair from her forehead. Her face in sleep still carried traces of the toddler she had been, round and open. "You are safe," he said softly. "I am here. Harper is here. Rosa is here. You have a whole crew." Her lips moved faintly. "Crew," she echoed, then slipped fully under. He turned off the overhead light and paused at the door, looking back once more. The nightlight painted its familiar blue arc over the floor. The room felt less haunted than it used to, less like a place holding its breath. In the hallway, Harper waited with her hands stuffed into the pockets of her cardigan. She had taken off her shoes and stood barefoot on the wood toes curled slightly against the cool surface. "She okay?" she asked. "She is out," he said. "Firefly wrangling is exhausting work." Harper smiled. "Good," she said. "She earned it." They drifted toward the stairs. Daniel switched off the small lamp on the hallway table, leaving only the thin spill of light from Emma's door and the ambient glow from downstairs. In the kitchen, Rosa rinsed the last dish and set it in the rack. She turned when they entered. "How is she?" Rosa asked. "Sleeping," Daniel said. "Good," Rosa replied. Her gaze moved between them, taking in the relaxed lines of their shoulders, the way they unconsciously matched each other's pace. "I am going to bed. Try not to worry about things you cannot fix until at least tomorrow morning." "I will do my best," he said. She patted his arm as she walked by and gave Harper a little nod before disappearing down the hall. The house settled into a quieter register. Outside, the string lights cast moving shadows on the grass as a breeze shifted the branches. Daniel filled 2 glasses with water and set one in front of Harper at the island. The kitchen window showed a dim reflection of them side by side, smaller than they felt up close. "How are you?" he asked. "Not as tired as I thought I would be," she said. "You?" He considered. "Full," he said. "In the brain, in the chest. Not in a bad way." "That is a lot," she said. "It is," he agreed. They drank in companionable silence for a moment. Somewhere upstairs, the house creaked as it adjusted to the cooling night. "Do you ever miss your old life?" she asked. "Before all of this." He thought about it. The version of himself who stayed late at the hospital every night because going home meant facing a quiet he did not know what to do with. The one who moved through days as if they were steps on a staircase with no landing. "I miss the parts with Lena and a small Emma who did not know enough to be afraid," he said. "I do not miss being alone with the rest." "That makes sense," she said. He looked at her. "Do you miss yours?" he asked. "Sometimes I miss having my mother alive, even if she did not remember my name," she said. "Sometimes I miss my classroom. Tiny desks, glue sticks, glitter in every crevice of my life." "You do not miss the glitter," he said. She laughed. "No one misses glitter," she said. "But I miss the feeling of walking into a room and knowing it was mine to hold together for a few hours." "You hold this room together," he said. "It already has a spine," she replied. "I am just adding color." He let that sit. "Come on," she said after a moment. "Before your kitchen chair glues itself to me, I want to see something." What he asked. "The porch," she said. "With the lights on and the bugs free? It is a good picture. We should not waste it." They stepped out through the sliding door. The night air wrapped around them cooler now. The string lights glowed overhead, their reflections doubling in the glass behind. The yard had gone quiet again. The fireflies were spread thin, their occasional flashes softer, more distant. From here, the house looked almost like it belonged to someone else. A warm rectangle in the dark. A place you might imagine when you were tired enough. Harper leaned on the porch railing, palms flat on the worn wood. The bulbs above her cast a soft halo around her hair. "Do you remember the first time you opened this door for me?" she asked. "I remember Emma beat me to it," he said. "She still does," Harper replied. He stepped up beside her. The yard stretched out half lit, half shadow. The world beyond the fence was just a suggestion. "I keep thinking about doors," he said. "That is specific, she said. He nodded toward the sliding door, toward the front door they had passed through so many times now. "For a long time, everything felt like a threshold I could not cross," he said. "Going back to the hospital, coming home from it, standing outside Emma's room, trying to decide whether to walk in and risk waking her or stay in the hall and hope I would hear if she needed me. And now," she asked, "now I find myself wanting to open them," he said, "which is its own kind of terrifying." She looked at him. "You are allowed to be terrified," she said. He met her gaze. In the mix of porch light and house light, her eyes held flecks of different colors, brown and green, and something lighter he had never named. "Come inside for a minute," he said. "I want to show you something." She raised her brows. "Is this where you reveal a secret attic full of art supplies?" she asked. "Nothing that dramatic," he said. "Just come." They stepped back through the door. He slid it shut behind them, the latch clicking into place. The house seemed to take a breath around them. In the hallway, he paused outside Emma's room. The door was slightly open as usual. The nightlight cast its glow over the strip of floor. "She is asleep," Harper whispered. "I know," he said. "I do not want to wake her." He nudged the door open just enough for them to look in. Emma had rolled onto her back arms, sprawled out, one foot poking from under the blanket. The bear was pressed to her side. On the wall opposite the bed, above a low bookcase, a new drawing had been taped up. He had noticed it earlier, but not really looked. Now in the nightlight's glow, the lines stood out. "Did you see that?" he asked quietly. Harper stepped closer, careful not to cross the threshold. She squinted in the low light. The drawing showed a hill in bright green crayon. At the top of it, a figure in yellow and blue stood with arms wide, hair in a long sweep. The face was simple, but something about the tilt of the head made it look like it was laughing. Lena, Harper said. Below the hill, 3 figures stood on a flat line of ground. One tall one, smaller one in between. The tallest had dark hair. The smallest had a round head and a ponytail sticking out. Between them was a figure with a sweep of brown hair to the shoulders and a cardigan scribbled in soft gray. Above each of the three, Emma had drawn a small star, not in the sky, but right above their heads. There was no empty space on the page. Harper's hand rose to her mouth and hovered there, not quite touching. She did that this afternoon, Daniel said, before the bugs. I did not want to make it a big thing, but I wanted you to see it. She put me in the picture, Harper said. She did, he said. She put you in her world. Harper stared at the drawing, at the hill, at the figure on top, at the three below. She gave Lena her own place, Harper said. Not gone, just up there. And then she made room down here. She made the choice, he said, not me. He watched her jaw tighten, then loosen. For a moment, her eyes shone. I do not want to take something I cannot keep giving, she whispered. I do not want to be one more thing she has to draw out again. He moved closer so that their shoulders almost touched. Then do not take it lightly, he said, but do not pretend you are not already there. In her head, in her stories, in her cracks between nightmares, in mine. They stood there together just outside the room, watching the quiet scene. Emma breathed in and out, unaware of the way two adults were reordering their private maps outside her door. After a minute, he eased the door back to its usual gap. In the living room, the lamp cast a pool of warm light over the couch. The rest of the house faded into softer shadow. Harper sat on the edge of the couch cushion. Daniel sat beside her, close enough that their knees brushed. Earlier, he said on the steps, I told you I was afraid. That is still true. I remember, she said. He took a breath. Here is the rest of it, he said. I do not want to let that fear make every choice for me. I do not want to look up 5 years from now and realize I backed away because it seemed safer, and we both missed whatever this could have been. She studied his face as if checking for cracks. What do you want then, she asked. I want you in this house, he said, in our pictures, on our bad days and our good ones. Not as a stand-in for Lena, not as the woman I hired once, as you, as Harper, with your own chair, not a borrowed one. Her throat worked as she swallowed. And if it hurts, she asked, if something happens, then it will hurt, he said. We will not pretend otherwise, but we will know we chose it with our eyes open. He reached for her hand finally, deliberately. Her fingers were cool, slightly ink-stained from earlier. She closed them around his. I care about you, he said, more than I have let myself say, more than I expected to be able to say again. The couch seemed to narrow around them. The house held its breath. I care about you too, she said, and about Emma. Enough that it feels like carrying a fragile thing through a crowded room. I am scared all the time that I will drop it, but I am still carrying it. He let out a quiet laugh. We are a very anxious pair, he said. We are, she agreed. Maybe that is our superpower. We know exactly what is at stake. For a moment, they just sat there, hand in hand, matched in their uncertainty and their decision to live with it. Then he shifted, closing the small space left between them. He kissed her softly, with the kind of care you give something you do not want to startle. She leaned into it, her free hand resting on his shoulder. There was no thunderclap, no sudden erasure of old hurt. Just the feeling of something steady and warm unfolding in his chest, like a door that had been stuck easing along its hinges. When they drew back, they stayed close to foreheads, almost touching. Okay, she said, a small smile forming. So, now we are really doing this. I think we are, he said. She squeezed his hand. We should tell Emma in a way that does not involve euphemisms about cereal, she said. We will, he said. She glanced toward the hallway, where the faint blue from the nightlight spilled onto the floor. That star has a lot of work tonight, she said. It has help, he replied. Outside, the string lights above the porch burned on. Fireflies rose and fell over the yard, tiny signals in the dark. Inside the house held its own constellation, a circle of lamplight, a sliver of blue from a child's room, the quiet brightness of two people sitting side by side, hands clasped, learning how to live with the weight and the warmth of being chosen again. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.